is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic lights. And I really wanna know if I will ever figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. Say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high, even if the sky is falling down.
All right, and happy Monday, everyone. We're diving in a little bit earlier than our typical time, which, if you know me, you know I'm a morning person anyway. So when Dominique reached out and was like, hey, can we do morning? I'm like, yes, absolutely. I was excited, actually. And today we're going to actually be talking about burnout, because burnout, it's not only just about doing too much, but it's also about giving from the wrong energy. And sometimes your body and even your energy field knows you have burned out far before you even know that. And so today, on this Unapologetically You episode of Successfully Chaotic, I'm talking with Dominique. She is an intuitive coach, color energy healer, and the creator of Healing with Colors. She has helped sensitives, creatives, and soul-led professionals reconnect with their intuition, regulate emotions, and remember who they are through the language of color, aura work, and vibrational healing. I'm excited about this episode because I've heard a little bit about that, but I have never been exposed to a lot of the aura work. But if you have never even heard about aura in your entire life, or maybe you've been deep in the energy field for years, it doesn't matter, because this conversation today is going to hit home. We're going to be talking how to spot burnout before it even takes you down, and why sensitives experience it differently, and how to restore yourself without losing your identity in the process. So without further ado, I'm going to jump in and let Dominique kind of give you a little bit more information about who she is, and, we'll start talking about this conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much, Maria, for inviting me here. I want to tell everybody to start with that life happens whether we want it or not. Life is there, and we have a choice to either, let life take us down or actually have a dance with life. And this is what I like to do. I like to remind everybody that we all have the answers within us, but life happened. And somehow we blocked the answers from showing up for us. And our body will show us in a way that we will stop and listen. Most of the time, for us women, it will show up in burnout or being sick and stuff like that. And that's where we don't want to go, because we still want to live life. We want to have that dance with life. And that's why I bring in the colors and things that are already readily available in our environment to help us see the things if we refuse to listen to the things.
Well, and I think what you said there is key, because as somebody who has experienced burnout, and anybody that's listened to my show, you've heard that whole saga, I'm sure. But, a lot of times you can feel that something feels off, right? And that you are taking on too much or not pulling in enough. You're not creating that balance that you're looking for. But, again, like you said earlier, life happens, and there's always going to be those moments, but it's making sure that you're feeding into yourself. That way you're ready for those moments, because they're inevitable. And I like what you said about, it's not only about doing too much. And I want to talk about that. And I don't know if you just said or you wrote it in your form, but that was something that stuck in my mind, because a lot of times I think we do. And I say we, because a lot of times I thought it was because that's why I was doing too much, and that's why I was burned out. I like that it's not only that. I mean, obviously that's a contributing factor, but it's not just that. It's also about giving from the wrong frequency. And I want you to kind of touch a little bit on that, because I think that is a common misnomer, because, that was my thing. Whenever I went through my own burnout phase, I'm stubborn enough that I did not completely face it until I had already crashed and burned it out. And then I was like, oh, but it's ideal to kind of notice that before that happens. And now I am hyper vigilant on trying to watch for those symptoms, because once you've hit that crash and burn, you know what it feels like, and you never want to go back there.
Mm-hmm. So I think that what I would like to make a parenthesis before we start, talking about the frequencies. I don't own the truth, right? Everybody owns their own truth, but this is what I believe in. So I believe that there are only two frequencies. There's a frequency of love and there's a frequency of fear. The frequency of fear is what is most present in this 3D environment, which is where we live. In this moment in time, we live on Earth and we live in the 3D. And what is mostly out there is fear. Everything is based, not everything, but, politics, religions, a lot of the things will be based on fear. We want to take what is already here and we want to bring it to the frequency of love. And that goes with asking questions. When I'm spending money, am I spending because I have this fear that I'm going to lack? Or I'm spending money because I actually want to bring, and I am happy and grateful to bring what I am bringing into my life. It can only be food, it can be clothes, it can be whatever. Like nothing is good, nothing is bad. It's just the frequency that we decide. I picked money because money is very easy, but it can be anything. Like when you have a conversation with your kids that are saying, I don't want to go to college. Your answer, where is it going to come from? Is it going to come from fear? Oh my God, he's never going to do anything in his life. Oh my God, what are the others going to say? Or is it coming from love? Okay, let's hear why you don't want to go to college. Let's analyze this together, but looking into your child's best interest and not in my own agenda. So sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish your thought there.
So to go into that frequency of overgiving, we often overgive from the fear. We don't want to crash. We want to have successful business. We want to have happy kids. We want to have a good life. We want to have a social life. We want it all. And it is not wrong to want it all. But we have to, I believe, be very aware of where we're giving from. Are we giving from we want it all because the others? We want it all because my mom. We want us because our conditioning. We want it all because we're in our head and we haven't embodied what we actually want it all. Or we want it all coming from the love frequency, which makes a very different want it all.
Yeah, I really like that. And I think that really goes along with a lot of the things we talk about, even the whole concept from the show, the name Successfully Chaotic. Like life has its own level of chaos. There's good chaos, there's bad chaos. And then we have, we're trying to all achieve quote unquote success in the midst of that. But then it gets even deeper than that, right? Like how do we define success and why? Are we following somebody else's definition of success? Because I think a lot of us at least start out there. I did. And also I think that's one of the things that led to my own burnout is I was chasing something that really wasn't, much to your point, in my frequency, but I thought I was supposed to want that, supposed to do that. And I think a lot of us end up there. And I think you mentioned children. I think sometimes we can accidentally, from good intentions, have that same influence on our kids, because you mentioned fear. As a mom, I don't want to live in a place of fear, but I'm always thinking, okay, well, what if they do this and it doesn't work out? Or what if they end up on, quote unquote, that wrong path? So it's always these things that a lot of times lead us on that wrong frequency for us, and even accidentally for our children. For people that aren't familiar maybe with the concept of an aura or an energy field, how would you describe that to them in real world terms?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, let's talk about a business. Mm-hmm. When we start a business, we start researching. How am I going to do my marketing? How am I going to do my social media? How am I going to do my automation? We just start researching, and then we hear the information from everywhere around us. Mm-hmm. When we hear the information from everywhere around us, we are embodying the information. So the information has access to our own energy field. Our energy field, which could be 6 feet out of us, is our aura. So we have an energy field that is around us, and then we let all the knowledge that we're getting from outside enter our energy field. And so we are in some way starting to interact with that energy. So when we're interacting with that energy, then we decide, do I embody this or do I not embody this? So we take all of that knowledge and we turn it into wisdom for us. We forget the conditioning because this is all things that we hear that are outside of us. Our body will always tell us, this is good, this is not, this is good, this is not, take this, don't take this. And we don't listen because we are embodying everything without being aligned. I remember when I first started to learn how to write copy, I was reading copywriters, and that's a long time ago, like before, the reality of copywriting right now. And I would go and embody what they were saying, like if it was God's word, and then I would write like them. And I'm like, hey, that doesn't feel right, but I would still throw it out there because I thought that was the energy that I had to embody because I heard that this person that is successful is doing and it works for them. It works for them. That's the importance. So my aura, I know that it works for them. So I leave it out of my energy field and then I take from everybody what works for me. I turn that knowledge into wisdom and I bring it into my own energy. I embody it and I listen to my body telling me, is this right? Can I use this? Is that aligned with my own energy field? I hope I answered your question.
No, I love that. And I think that defines it quite well. I know you shared in your intake form that we sent you that you had, your own moment where your energy had been depleted. And, and even before your body kind of fully burned out, can you share maybe how you first realized that was what was going on? Because again, like I said earlier, my hope, and I'm sure your hope, is to help people realize it before it becomes a way harder thing to kind of get out of. And so,
Most
to
definitely.
notice those little things. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to share an experience that was really, really hard, that happened maybe 8 years ago. I've been in business for over 20 years. And I'm the kind of person, in human design, if you know human design, I'm a pure generator. And I follow my gut where there's no end. Like people are all going to look at me and go, hey, you sure you should do that? And then I just follow my gut. My gut says yes, I go. But sometimes I can trick my gut. And that's what happened about 8 years ago. I have this thing that I like community, but I'm a nomad. I travel. I don't have a lot of communities. Sometimes I'll land in a place where I feel that there's a community, and this is where I trick my gut. I don't do that anymore. Thank God. I have learned. But this is what happened when you say, like, before you really know. So I was living in this village where I met some people that were, to me, the most amazing people in the world. They had a family. They had everybody was kind of around them. And I had money to invest. I have a lot of ideas. I like to venture. I like to risk things. This is something that I really like to. Usually I will venture and risk to where I'm able to. But I was in my conditioning. I wasn't listening to my body, and I ventured too far with the wrong people. Why am I saying this story is because while I was doing that, I was aware of my conditioning of wanting a community around me. First red flag. I was aware that these people, even though they were known and liked, it was not for the right reasons. Second red flag. As I was making my business plan, there was a lot of red flags that were coming around. Questions not answered, papers not shown, but I wanted to be there. It was fun because I was in the middle of a lot of people. The third red flag, that I would say third, fourth, fifth, like all the red flags were there. And I did not listen to those red flags because I was not aligned. I was using all the knowledge, but I wasn't embodying to see if it was turned into wisdom. And my body kept on saying no. And I kept on tricking my gut to say, I know what I'm doing. At the end of the day, I lost everything. Like everything. And I crashed so bad. I think it took me at least 3 to 4 months to actually get out of the house and say, okay, now you crashed. It's okay. Let's just rebuild it. Let's just remake it. And let's remember this and let's be aligned. But even when I did that, I still have the remembrance because your body, your nervous system remembers. And this is where I had the real burnout after all of that, after the big, big crash. Then I went into my nervous system couldn't cope anymore. So even signing a contract for a lease, even putting my name on a phone bill or on an electricity bill, like everything came into my body as a red flag because I had tricked my body. But I knew before, Maria. I knew way before. Like the first red flag your body tells you is a time where you need to take 2 steps back and breathe and say, is this really me? Is this really me tricking my body? I already know this. I've already been there. But I haven't listened for a long time. And so life happened and I really crashed. I learned my lesson. Thank God I have the tools and I was able to get back into it. But some people, even after that, when they are now in therapy, they're doing the coaching, they're doing the work, their nervous system can't cope anymore because they've tricked their body, they've tricked their gut too much. And now we don't know. And that's one of the questions I get the most. How do I know it's really me? How do I know I really know? How do I know I'm not tricking myself? And this is when you use all the knowledge. The colors will help you because they give you the external knowing, and your gut will never trick you, but you have to be able to listen to it. But before way before.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and as you were sharing that, I was thinking about my own crash and burn experience, which also I seen a lot of parallel in your story. And again, a lot of people who listen to me know a lot of my story, but I ended up having a whistleblow on a public company that I was helping with. And that was awful. And the same thing, there were some red flags early on that I was like, and I had never been involved with a company at that level. So it was all new, but at the same time, my gut was telling me, but I always say negotiated with myself. We are our best negotiators with ourselves because we know exactly how to be like, no, gut, it's fine, it'll be okay, because we maybe see that opportunity or want to believe the best. Or for me, it was a combination of both. It seemed like an opportunity that, I thought I wanted. And honestly, looking back through a lot of healing, I feel I figured out that I never really wanted that anyway. I just thought I was supposed to. But, I think that it's so important to ask yourself those questions. And I do think once that first happens, like you said, you had a moment where you were honestly traumatized, right? You were traumatized. So, you have to kind of heal from that and then look back, take the lessons from that and be able to move forward. And I love that you were able to take this experience and let it actually impact your work in a positive way and how you approach healing now. And can you maybe talk a little bit about that? I know you've kind of shared a little bit about, the aura and the color energies, but how do colors in someone's energy fields reflect when they're going through something physically or emotionally? Can you kind of explain that to us?
Yeah. So when I understood that I did a lot of research on this just to make sure I was understanding properly what I had done, because I did it to myself. And this is when I started understanding how the nervous system will always keep us into what it remembers. And what it was remembering survival. It was remembering fear. It was remembering, like, even though I don't live in that, my nervous system was. So my reactions were going back to that unconsciously. And the unconscious, 80% of what we do comes from the unconscious. So you can imagine how much I was like, well, why can't I just sign, a lease? I was moving back to Canada in that time. And I was making decisions that even to me were like, seriously, But when I was doing that, when you look at the trees. So for me, looking at the trees is kind of my peace zone. You look at the trees and you see all these shades of green. And if you sit and pause, you don't even have to sit, but even if you're walking in a forest or where there's nature, The greens, they take these different shapes, these different, not shapes, but textures and colors. They're all different. You can see that with your eyes. But when I was walking or I was sitting there and I was looking at the trees, all the green was dark green. I know that the trees all have different shapes, different texture, different colors, different hues. And I was looking at the trees and I was like, wow, everything is dark green because my nervous system needed a lot of healing. And this is when I started to recognize that I was healed. You know, we never are truly healed from everything, but my nervous system was still dictating everything. So even though I could think, I wasn't still embodying. I wasn't still aligned. I still hadn't told my nervous system, we're going to be okay. And I saw that with the colors. Everything looked a little bit dull, a little bit more murky. The colors were there, but they weren't what I knew to be true.
Now, is that something that people can utilize to be able to kind of sense an early warning sign that maybe energy-based or otherwise, that they're maybe heading toward burnout? Because again, you know, it's if you've never experienced that and maybe never even heard about it, some of the listeners maybe never even heard of that before. Is that something that if they're starting kind of notice those things in their own visuals, you know, what, or their own nervous system, like you said, like maybe you're more anxious than normal. Like, is that early warning signs, do you think?
They are, definitely, because so when your nervous system is reacting all the time, you're tricking your gut. I mean, you're not doing this consciously, but it's tricking your gut because your nervous system is taking the decisions. Your nervous system is keeping you with your nose, like just peeking out of the water, right? For you, you're living. So the things will still happen. You're still going to have a job. Your kids are still going to go to school if that's what they do. You know, life is still going to happen. But everything around you, because your body cannot tell you, your gut is not able to be loud enough. I always say that intuition is like that little voice, right? But when you keep that voice so quiet, it doesn't have the space to tell you the truth. So it's going to use the world. Your car is not going to start. Maybe you're going to get to work and you're going to have that heavy feeling that this is not where you should be. You're going to speak with your kids and your words are not going to come out aligned. You're going to wear clothes, and the clothes that you used to love, they're going to look like they're not nice anymore. You know, you're going to comb your hair and your hair is going to look like it's darker. Or like darker, I don't mean dark hair is not nice because I have dark hair, but I mean, it's going to look like, so if my hair is auburn, or it's going to look like it's dark brown. If your hair is black, it's going to look blacker. If your hair is blonde, it's going to look green. You know, you're going to find all these shades in the world that it's going to make you stop and wonder, why is that? What's that dress that I always love that I'm putting on right now? I don't love it anymore. But not only once, it's going to happen over and over again. The world is going to try to tell you, can you please stop and breathe for a second? Can you please stop, sit down and look, am I really aligned with what I'm doing right now? Mm-hmm. And it could be that one thing. You know, for me, I know it was the communication with my kids. I would say things and I would use the same words that I always use, but instead of them being receiving, they would right away react. I was like, but I'm always saying the same thing. But they would react because the way that my body was, my kids are extremely important. My communication with them is extremely important, but I wasn't listening. And then eventually I did not listen and I crashed, but you don't have to go there. The world will tell you. The world will always tell you. Your body will start. If you don't listen to your body, then the world will tell you. And if that doesn't work, then the crash comes. We don't have to go there. We can let our nervous system know that we're okay by doing somatic, by doing yoga, by going to therapy, by taking coaching, by drawing. Some people will get out of these situations by doing mandalas. There's so many creative ways to get out. but we do have to take the time to sit, breathe, and truthfully, honestly look at what we're doing.
I love that. And for listeners maybe right now that are a little skeptical of energy work, because again, if it's not something you've ever been introduced to, there could be like layers of acceptance to that. How would you maybe give them some tips that they can still use these insights, but in maybe a more practical, grounded way that they would understand?
Mm-hmm. So let's go back to my copywriting and my social media from the beginning.
Yeah.
So when you are writing posts or you are writing articles or you are you're doing as a business owner, okay, you're putting your word into the world. When you are doing this, I always invite the people that work with me to, before you put your work out there and your message out there, to sit, to breathe, and to say that message and say, does that resonate in my aligned self from the right frequency, fear or love, or it's not the frequency that I want to? And if it's not the frequency that you want to, it's okay. It's okay, because you have the power to change it. It might take 5 minutes more, but it's going to give you so much more to share in the world what you truly want to share, because that is your energy. So you are extending your auric field. You're extending your aura to the world with your message. And what you want to bring back into your aura is what is magnetic to you, what is meant for you. And what is meant for us is not fear. What is meant for us is not pain. What is meant for us is not having to hustle and struggle. Yes, it will be chaotic at some point because life happens, but it doesn't have to hurt.
I love that. I do. And I was looking at your form because there was something that I highlighted I wanted to actually read. This was written from your words. I loved that one of the takeaways that you said is you're not broken, you're conditioned. That really, I think that resonated with me. And you said that most of us aren't starting from zero. We're starting from a lifetime of being told to ignore our intuition. And you also said that you share how color became a language that helped you to unlearn those patterns and remember who you really were. And I loved that. I know you mentioned that you work with sensitives and creatives a lot. Why do you think that they're more prone to burnout?
Well, I work with a lot of teachers, a lot of nurses. Every single day, their aura mingles with everybody else's auras. If you are in this world and you are wanting to teach, wanting to share a message to start with, you're probably more sensitive to what the others are receiving. Coming from the heart, of course, you want, like for what you do, chaos is there, but we can be successful with chaos. So sensitives, empath, people that are into the health education system, we receive a lot, but we forget that it doesn't have to be ours. We can receive by observing, and we don't have to embody everybody's frequency. We weren't taught that. We were taught, well, I'm over 50, so maybe I was taught things that are different, but I grew up in a very religious background. I was taught that I was not worthy of receiving. I was taught that I should be beautiful, but not speak. I was taught that I have to know how to do everything, but I don't have to be seen for what I do. And when I am seen and when I receive from what I do, then I'm stepping into the wrong side. Those are all conditioning that live through me. Even when the story that I told you, when I went into the village, I knew and I was seeing all the red flags, but my conditioning was way stronger. My nervous system was taking control instead of me living that chaos successfully.
So, as of right now, what does healing burnout without losing yourself mean to you? Like right now in your own life, like going through all that you've gone through, being able to work with so many different people. What does that mean to you right now?
So we all know who we are. At the end of the day, we all know deeply, honestly, truthfully, in our core, we know what we're here to do. We ask questions like, oh, I don't know what my purpose is. My purpose is, I don't know. You know your passions. You know what you like to talk about. So we know. But then how are we using our own agency, our own sovereignty to bring that into the world? So we don't have to lose ourselves. We don't have to go into burnout. We do eventually have to sit. And I mean, my work is all about that. It's all about observing. It's all about looking. What are the colors telling me? What is the world telling me? What is everything telling me? So that I don't have to go into full swirl down and losing myself. We don't have to go there. So for me, what it looks like is, for instance, when I would receive people in my cohorts, we are going to learn how to decode the aura. We're going to learn how to feel the frequency of each color so that when the color is speaking to us from the outside, we learn to bring it in because we have all the answers. So we're not losing ourselves. We're using what is readily here, already there, and then we bring it into our own knowledge, turn it into wisdom so that we don't have to go into burnout. Is it going to be always beautifully pink, like unicorns and paradise? No. But we're not going to go like this every time. We're going to have like waves that are less. We're always going to be going up towards what we want to do because we're listening both to what life is bringing us and what our body is saying. We forget to embody things. We take ourselves way too seriously and we forget to have fun at one point. And when we do that is when we start losing ourselves. So I think that I would like everybody to be happy, and I would like everybody to stop stressing out, to just kind of live life one step after the other and breathing through it so that we let our body talk to us so that we don't lose ourselves and don't go into burnout.
I love that. And I think it's so important to do. And, I know you have a new program starting on October 15th. And I wanted you to maybe share, this is the link is at the bottom. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, it'll be in the show notes. But I do want you to mention, who is this program for and what can they expect?
Yes. Well, thank you for mentioning the program. So this cohort is 18 weeks. And we basically start by going, each week we're going to experience the frequency of a color. Because remember that it's everywhere. So we just haven't learned how to use it. Most of the time, teachers, nurses, coaches, they want to use things to help their clients, to help themselves, to feel more. The aura is all that we feel. It's all of the whole of who we are. And so in that course, we're going to use the colors to help people tell us what they're not able to tell us through the colors, to help ourselves uncover what our body's trying to say, but we're not able to say. We're going to learn how to decode the aura. We're going to learn how to interpret the frequency, and we're going to learn how to hear what we thought we couldn't hear. So basically go back to ourselves and listen to our intuition.
Well, and I think that sounds amazing. Is this for anyone?
It is for anyone who would like to learn how to decode the aura and how to read the frequencies. And also in every week we have a Q&A. So if you're a teacher and you're like, well, I have kids that are this, kids that are that, give me tricks. So we find tricks to use what is already available in the classroom. Nurses, when you're walking in the corridor, how are we blocking all the other energy so that we can use our own energy, our own agency? Coaches, you have a client that is in grief and he's not able to tell you what they're really thinking or feeling. So let's write with green colors to write from the love and, go into the subconscious in ways that are available to us. I'm not teaching you something new. I'm teaching you something that you already know. And we're just helping you just step back into that core knowledge that we already have so that we can read the unconscious and that we can stop taking ourselves so seriously. We can have fun again and successfully live in that chaos that doesn't have to hurt.
I love that. If you are like, if any of this hit home, because I mean, I know I'm like, wow, I need to check this program out, because again, once you've been in that burnout, you never want to go there again. And we are constantly living this human life where we're getting all kinds of input. And, like Dominique shared, anytime you work with anybody, it is a balance between trying to maintain our own energy while we help that person. And I think it's so important to kind of look into that. Thank you so much for being on here. You've dropped so much truth just about burnout and energy and the ways that we can take care of ourselves without feeling like we have to step away from who we really are. And I think that's the key points here. And again, if you're listening and this conversation hit home, go connect with Dominique, and there's going to be some links to her different social media profiles in the show notes of, the podcast once it launches here. You can also go to her website, intentioninflow.com. And for the program, it's /healing-with-colors. And so you can go check that out. And if you loved today's episode, please share this with a friend. Make sure you follow Successfully Chaotic. And we're still wrapping into this series of Unapologetically You, which I'm really loving because that's been my mission and my journey through this entire season. And so I know, Dominique, you are very much that real unapologetically you person. And that's one of the reasons I was super excited to have you on today. And, today's episode was about, your energy, right? And how to really start listening to that. And thanks again for hanging out with me today.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you would like to share with anyone?
Stop stressing. You don't have to be burnt out. Just listen. And if you think you can't hear, just sit and breathe and observe. And burnout is not the solution.
I love that. Burnout is not the solution. I feel like I need that, like a Post-it note above my computer, because it's one of those things, again, that it's, in a constant full life, it kind of, you face that on a regular basis. Again, if you love this episode, hit that like button, hit that follow button. Make sure you go check out Dominique's program.
Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic lights. And I really wanna know